Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hello everyone. My name is Ubu Zafra binti Abdul Aziz, and I would like to talk about the carrying capacity of marine ecosystem on Hawksbill sea turtles. Before that, let me tell you about the definition of carrying capacity. Carrying capacity, by ecology definition, is a number of organisms that an ecosystem can sustainably support. An ecosystem carrying capacity for a particular species may be influenced by many factors, such as the ability to regenerate food, water, atmosphere, or other necessities that those populations need to survive. The ecosystem cannot exceed their carrying capacity for a long period of time. A population can only grow until it reaches the carrying capacity of the environment. There, the population will begin dying off, and at that point, resources are insufficient. Here we have a graph, an example of graph with credits image to biologydictionary.net. This graph above shows the population N of a certain species over time. At the carrying capacity K, the population shows that it stops growing as resources are maxed out. Due to the devastating events on the coral reef ecosystem such as coral bleaching, global warming, and plastic waste in the ocean, the coral reef ecosystem carrying capacity may not be able to support the preservation of the Hawksbill sea turtles population. This is due to the decrease of food resources and habitat, which makes this species vulnerable to all sorts of danger, like predation, diseases, and human captures. And therefore, it is very important that carrying capacity are taken note to sustain and increases the chances of survivability of the species. When an ecosystem restores their former glory, this increases the carrying capacity to sustain many more. With efforts to restore our marine ecosystem on the rise, the carrying capacity of this ecosystem will surely increase, and this supports the preservation for Hawksbill sea turtle species in the future. One example on how carrying capacity can be exceeded to decrease the population of our species will be the decreases of sponges and jellyfishes to the turtles. As sponges and jellyfishes are the turtles' main diet, the decrease of food resources will eventually decreases the population of the turtle. As carrying capacity by definition is when at a certain point the population will stop growing as the resources are maxed out. Thank you.
Hawksbill turtle are found throughout the tropical waters of Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Ocean. They avoid deep water and preferring coastline. Now let's talk about level of organization species of Hawksbill turtle. Let's start with organism. Organism, which is individual of Hawksbill turtle, focus on the way that organism adapt to the environment through physiology and behavior. Next is population, which a group of Hawksbill turtle interbreed and live in the same area at the same time. Let's move on to the community. Community in tropical coral reef include many marine species including algae, fish, sponges, and many more. Next is ecosystem, consists of all living and non-living things in particular area. Lastly, which is biosphere, the area of planet where organisms live including ground and air. Let's proceed to the food web of Hawksbill turtle. Hawksbill turtle are omnivorous, will eat marine algae, fishes, jellyfish, and sponges. Their hard shell will protect them from many predators, but they still fall prey to sharks, octopus, and humans. This is the food web of Hawksbill turtle. Food web is network-connected food chains. In this food web, there is producer, consumer, and decomposers. In this food web, plankton and seaweeds are producer, which these organisms are photosynthetic organisms that get their energy from sun. Next is consumer. There are three types of consumer, which are primary, secondary, and tertiary consumer. Primary consumer that feeds on plankton and seaweeds, which are producer, are jellyfish, sponges, and small fish. Next is secondary consumer, which are Hawksbill turtle, that feeds on primary consumer. Tertiary consumer that feeds on secondary consumer are sharks and octopus. Lastly, decomposers. Starfish is one of decomposer in this coral reef ecosystem. Starfish clean up dead organic matter by moving along rocks and other stationary surface. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Arfina Ikrisha. We will present about the ecosystem of Hawksbill turtle. Let's go. Hawksbill turtle mainly found in ultra-tropical ocean, predominantly in coral reef. They feed mainly on small sharks by using their narrow pointed beaks to extract them from crevices on the reef. But there also is some sea animals and jellyfish. Hawksbill turtle are different representatives of a group particulates that exist on Earth and traveling overseas for the last 100 million years. They are fundamental in marine ecosystem and help maintain the health of coral reef and seagrass beds. So here is the population data of Hawksbill turtle. As you can see, the graph is decreasing from year to year. This is one of the reasons why the Hawksbill turtle have been categorized as endangered species. So it's done for me. Thank you.
Carbon cycle is one of biogeochemical cycle. Hawksbill turtles are part of this cycle. Firstly, a biotic component of the carbon cycle is atmosphere. Hawksbill turtle release carbon dioxide to the atmosphere by the process of respiration. Next, the biotic component of the carbon cycle is when carbon dioxide is exchanged between living organisms. Hawksbill turtle is part of the food chain. The interaction between Hawksbill turtle and other living organisms is predation. Here, carbon dioxide is used for photosynthesis by producer. The Hawksbill turtle is known as omnivores, so they obtain carbon either from producer or consumer. At the end, they will be eaten by their predator and carbon will be passed to the predator. Next, the interaction between Hawksbill turtle and decomposer. The decomposition particle of turtle by the decomposer will sink and end up as sediment. Later, the carbon returns back to the atmosphere by the partitioning upwelling. As a reptile, turtles play roles in both oceanic and terrestrial carbon cycle. Respiration and predation take place inland, but the decomposition of turtle will end up as sediment and will run off back to the sea as oceanic sediment.